Mandala Offering. Mandala Tene Gyuje Kerabe Serege Dalue Timo Memba Rasene Kala Tenje Sholo Tobaye Lojo Bobe Nangwa Zedo Su Kanye Tenjen Jawa Chungawa Meba Jemeba Cheba Meba Bame Owa Meba Jomeba Tade Dumen Jemen Joba Nishi Shidemba Zobe Sange Manam Gitamba Dehalan Shaze Lo. Hello, good morning everyone. Greetings.
Good morning, Xin chào tất cả mọi người. Chúc một buổi sáng tốt lành.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, we can hear you. So in between the talk, if the network seems to be fuzzy, then just text me, okay? Just send me a message. Yeah. Okay. All right. Then I will read. So please listen to today's teaching. So please listen to the following teachings with the proper motivation of the Bodhisattva motivation, which is to aspiring to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So we all have temporary desires. We want to feel. We want to have a full stomach. We want to have warm clothes. We want to live in a warm bed, a soft bed, and so proper materials and all these things, which are what we call necessities. So that is something that we actually do need. And so those things are necessities, these are the things that we need for ourselves. And beyond that, beyond what is necessary, if we try to keep and if we try to gather a lot of things to fulfill our desire, then you will not be able to fulfill our desire. We will not be able to fulfill what we want, because desire or want is a mental factor. It's a mental thing. It's a thought process, and it's a mental. And mind, a mental process is actually infinite. What you can imagine, for example, what you can imagine, what you can think of is limitless. At this very moment, you can think of America. At this very moment, you can think of India. At this very moment, you can think of heaven. So thinking is the mental process is limitless. If you could do it, then you can do it. If you could imagine it, then you can think of anything you want. So a thought process mental process is limitless, but the resources that we have, like money, house, partner, children, loved ones, they are limited. They are limited resources. So when you apply an unlimited measurement, like a scale, an unlimited, infinite scale on a thing that is limited, that is finite, that is not infinite, then you have trouble. So therefore, on a day-to-day basis, we have been using the scale of our limitless potential of the mind upon things that is finite, that is limited, and then no matter how much we get, we are not satisfied, we are not fulfilled. And then because from this not fulfillment, from this unfulfillment, from this not getting what we want, we develop irritation. Irritation develops into dislikeness, and dislikeness develops into disgust and hatred, and so on and so forth. And so that is the root cause, or that is the source of all our miseries. That the root cause or the source of all our miseries is that we are using the scale of our infinite mind upon a thing, upon the material things, which is finite, which is limited. So in order to so this is the problem, as I present that what I mentioned earlier, what I just said is the problem. I just presented the problem. So how do we get out of that problem? How do we get out of what is the solution to that? And so there are a number of solutions. There are temporary solutions, and there are everlasting, long-lasting, everlasting solutions. And temporary solutions, if you have you can. There are a number of temporary solutions, so I will not get into that. So the ultimate solution to all these problems is, of course, as we all know, and that is the very reason why we are all here, is to practice the Dharma. And the Dharma is the vehicle, the vessel, the vehicle, like the car or the aeroplane, So in which we ride on that's why the Dharma is also called the path. So the teaching of the Buddha is like the path. So Buddha reached the other side of the river, the other side of the ocean, and he now showed us with the path, the road. And the road is none other than the Dharma. And by walking on the path that Buddha has presented to us, then we will also be able to overcome, ultimately overcome the dilemma that we are in, the problems that we are living with, so there are a number of teachings by the Buddha. There are a number of paths, even though we say Buddha showed us the path, but it is not just one path. It is not just one path. Traditionally or historically, there are three paths: the Mahayana, the Bodhisattva Yana, the Vajrayana, the Mahayana, and the Shavaka Yanas. So there are the three yanas, meaning the three vehicles, the three sort of mode of transportation: the Vajrayana, the Mahayana, and the Shavaka Yanas. And within the Shavaka, within each tradition, within each yana, there are different Dharma texts and Dharma practices to do. And today, what we chose to do, what we chose to practice is also is actually from the Mahayana practice, and this comes from the and within Mahayana practice there are so many, and this is the Tibetan Buddhism, and within Tibetan Buddhism there are so many sections, and this is from the Kagyupa tradition, and within Kagyupa there are so many great masters, and then this is one of the principal Kagyupa master by the name of Nyame Tapolhaji or Gamboba, as he was known. And this particular book that we will be dealing with is known as the Precious Garland to the Path of Enlightenment. And within that, there are a number of sections, and we are now dealing with the sections of the things that not to be giving up. So, of the 10 things not to be given up, we have covered 5 of them. The first being compassion, and the second being appearance, the third being our conceptual thoughts, the fourth being negative emotions, and the fifth being our desire, or the things, the subject, or the subject of our desire, or desire itself. The first, compassion, not to give up, because compassion is the root, or the source of all compassion is the source of all beneficial activities, beneficial for others. Appearance is the very appearance is not to be given up, because appearance is the shadow of reality. So, as ordinary beings, we cannot see the ultimate reality as itself, and we need the appearance, we need the illusion to see the real thing. And the conceptual thoughts, we need the conceptual thoughts, because conceptual thought is the medium through which we can, because we cannot perceive the ultimate reality directly, so we will need conceptual thoughts, our imagination and our conceptual thoughts to perceive the reality. So the first thing is we cannot see reality as it is, so we need the appearance of the reality. That's why the appearance is important. And thirdly, number 3 is that we need the conceptual thoughts. Even though conceptual thought is it's a conception, it's not directly perceiving the object in front of you or the ultimate truth as we see the book in front of me. The conceptual thought cannot see it like that. The conceptual thought actually plays in your mind, projects in your mind like a theater, in a movie theater. Whatever visions you had with your direct perception, with your eyes, your ears, and so on and so forth, it's being played back in your mind. So, and this is the only way through which we can touch reality, the ultimate truth. And so therefore we will need the conceptual thoughts. And then number 4, we will need the afflictive emotions, the afflictions, the afflictive emotions, the negative emotions, because the negative emotions are the wisdom is actually the antidote to the negative emotions. And through by going through the experiences of negative emotions, we will be able to we will see the necessity. We will be able to see the necessity of the positive thoughts. Without the negative emotions, there will not be any positive emotions. The positive thoughts such as compassion, wisdom, the realization of emptiness, and so on and so forth, are an antidote. It's like a medicine for the afflictive emotions that we have within us. Now, without those afflictive emotions, We won't have compassion, we won't have wisdom, we won't have anything of any of those things. Because there is darkness, we invent light. We make light. We put up light. Without darkness, then there won't be any light. There won't be the necessity to produce or make light. So darkness or ignorance or afflictive emotion is so bad that we want to overcome it by practicing with wisdom and compassion and so forth. That's why we need the negative emotions are necessary in that aspect. So it doesn't mean that we must we have lots of negative emotions. There's no question about that. So what we are seeing here is we need negative emotions as adversary. So without the negative emotion, there's nothing for the positive emotions to face with. And so in order to in positive emotion such as compassion and love and other those emotions actually arise because of the negative emotions. To overcome the negative emotions, those positive emotions were like those positive emotions were developed, and so therefore negative emotions are necessary. Negative emotions should not be given up in that sense. And when you have negative emotions, in order for negative emotions to arise, you need the desire or the pleasure, the pleasure objects, the desirable objects like beautiful things, nice music, beautiful house, money, all those things. So if there is nothing to be attracted towards, then the afflictive emotions will not rise. So in order for the afflictive emotions to rise, there is a necessity, there is a need for those objects to appear. And that's why we will need we should not give up the desirable objects. So I will come back to this again. Desirable objects not to be given up. This is strictly in a sense of practice. When you are practice, you should not give up the desirable objects, because desirable objects, so by practice, I mean during meditation. During the meditation, you should take in those desirable objects, such as things that is, you should, during your practice, during your meditation, you should take in both desirable and undesirable equally, and then meditate upon them. Some of them, the ultimate goal, of course, is to get rid of all the negative emotions. The ultimate goal is, of course, to get rid of all desirable objects. But at the same time, during the meditation, we take them all in. And so that's why we will need the number 5, which is the desire objects. The pleasure objects are also necessary for us to practice. So number 6 is that sickness and suffering should not be given up. So this is very very important here, because so these 10 things that we should not be given up, right? We know that most of the things that is specified here, that is spoken here, seems like things we should be given up. Isn't that why we are doing Dharma practice? We are doing Dharma practice to give up our negative emotions and desire and conceptual thoughts and our pain and everything to go away. That's why we are practicing. So why are we not giving them up? So let's just use the term giving up and abandonment, 2 different things. So of course there are all things to be abandoned, except for number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. and most of the follow-ups from here onwards, most of the things that we should not be giving up are also the things that we should abandon. In the ultimate sense, we should abandon all of them. But in the conventional sense, or in the practical sense, while we are doing practices, we should be keeping them. We should not be giving them up. Giving them up is like brushing them aside. So in English, we use a phrase called putting under the carpet. So if you have some big obstacle, if you have a big task, instead of dealing with that task face to face, if you push it aside, then one thing push aside. And today you push aside one big thing, one big task, and tomorrow another thing. And it keeps piling up. So whatever task that you have not completed today will certainly appear tomorrow, and it will be more. It will be much more daunting than today, and it will become more and more daunting as the days keep. So it's just think of that as a debt. If you have a debt, you don't pay it today, tomorrow it becomes more. the the interest rate of that debt which you haven't paid becomes more and more and more, gets more and more, and eventually you will not be able to pay even the interest, let alone the capital. So just like that, all these negative emotions, all those things we should be abandoned. They should be abandoned, yes, but they should be given up, no. If you give them up, that is like ignoring them, ignoring their existence. So if you have a problem and say, okay, just, I'm not going to think about it, I'm going to ignore it, then this problem will not, if you can ignore it indefinitely, if you can ignore it indefinitely, forever, that is good, but you cannot. If you ignore it today, tomorrow it will pop up, and after tomorrow it will become worse. So that's why we need to deal with the things right away, or at least do not give them away, do not give them up. So whatever problems, so in life also, whatever problems, whatever difficulty we face, we should not give them up. We should face them, and depending upon the urgency of the matter. So we have so many problems in our life. We have so many problems in our life. We don't know how to pick. You might say, okay, I have so many problems. I have a money problem. I have a relationship problem. I have a social problem, this and that. So when things like that comes, if you say, okay, I'm not going to deal with money problem, this is too a headache for me. Oh my God, money problem, too headache for me. Oh, social problem, oh, I don't want to talk with anybody. Oh, my relationship problem, I don't trust my partner, or he doesn't trust me, or she doesn't trust me, and so it's such a headache. Oh, okay. If you keep ignoring, if you keep pushing them away, then this will not help you. And then it will become so it will become so big that and then all of those problems will force into your life one day, and then you will sometimes have no choice other than to suicide. And that's why you have to deal with the problems. Then the question comes, how to deal with which problem, right? I have so many problems. I have 1,000 problems. Let's just say maybe 1,000 is just a it's too small a number. So let's say we have 10,000 problems, and 10,000 problems. Which one should I choose? Which one should I solve first? So the first thing is, all 10,000 problems, don't delete them, don't keep them aside, don't push them away. Just be aware that you have 10,000 problems. This is the first thing, acknowledgement of the problem. Buddha said, this is the suffering of the truth, right? The first truth, first noble truth, the suffering of truth. So the truth of suffering, the truth of suffering. Just like that, the truth of suffering. Truth means real. So if it's real, you have to acknowledge it. So first, you have to acknowledge that you have 10,000 problems. If you do not acknowledge that you have 10,000 problems, then you are not seeing the truth of suffering, the first noble truth. So first you have to see the first noble truth, the suffering of truth. Sorry, the truth of suffering, the first noble truth. That is like acknowledging. That is similar to acknowledging the problems, the 10,000 problems that you have. Now, after 10,000 problems you see, you have to deal with 10,000 problems. You cannot deal with 10,000 problems all at once. You cannot. So, what is the logical solution? Out of the 10,000 out of the 10,000 problems, which is the most daunting case for you? So you have to prioritize the most important one. If you have pain, you have headache, you have pain in the back, and you have some arm pain and chest pain, and so which of all of them, which is the most painful one, most excruciating pain? So the most daunting problem of all is the one you should deal with first. And then you have to deal with that first, because that is the emergency. That is the emergency, and it has to be dealt urgently. And in that sense, we will come into the sixth chapter, which is the sixth chapter is that illnesses and suffering are our teacher, our spiritual teacher, so we should not give them up. Now, be honest here. Why do we do Dharma practice? Why do we go to the temple? Why do we listen to Dharma? Why? Because there is something undesirable happening in our life, and we want to remove that. We want to get out of that situation. It may be mild situation, it may be drastic situation, it may be very dangerous, very life-threatening situation, or it may be very minor thing. But there is something that is making us uncomfortable, and we want to get out of that uncomfortableness for good, forever. In order to get out of that everlasting unhappiness, in order to get out of that everlasting ultimate unhappiness, we are ready to go through temporary unhappiness. Temporary unhappiness in the sense during, when we do prostration, when we go to the temple, when you make offering to the temple, you work very hard, and all the money from the money that you work very hard, you make offering to the temple, and then you go to different places to do Dharma practice and so on and so forth. You dedicate a special time slot for you to practice, even though you have a very busy life, so you sacrifice a lot. So all this all those discomfort that you go through, you do it temporarily for the sake of you go through those temporary discomfort so that you can get rid of ultimate discomfort. So therefore, the illnesses, the suffering is actually our teacher, in the sense, usually what teachers do, teachers tell us to do the good things, do the right things. So like that, our sicknesses, our illnesses, and our suffering actually tells us, okay, you shouldn't have done the 10 negative things. If you do 10 negative things, then you suffer, then you get sick, then you do this and that. So you should get rid of 10 negative things and do the 10 positive things. So that's what it's telling us. So it is our teacher in that sense. So acknowledge your problems first. And after acknowledging your problem, then you deal with the most dominating problem first. So just like the illnesses, the sicknesses, number 7, which is our enemies and the obstacles. So obstacle is a word we use in Tibetan. So it can have a variety of meanings. For example, if you have an accident, car accident, that is also obstacle. And if you have if you're unsuccessful in your business deal, or if you have some trouble at your workplace, That is also called an obstacle. So obstacle is something, if you're going on a road and then suddenly your car stops down, and then you have to you have to repair it, or you have to call in the so this is called an obstacle. So just like that, on the journey of our life, when something actually pauses us, and make us draws our attention to something other than what we are intended to do, that is called an obstacle. So obstacle or obstacles. So these are the most of the time our enemies are our enemies, because our enemies create obstacles for us. So when you meet somebody for the very first time, you have never heard of that person, you have never seen that person, and never met that person is never your enemy. Then you are together, maybe on a business deal, or maybe just talking about something, and then you have a disagreement, or that other person is trying to uh, create an obstacle for you in doing what you wanted to do, and then that person becomes your obstacle. You have a beautiful object. That person wants to take it away from you, steal it from you, rob it from you, or something like that. So when somebody creates an obstacle for you, that person becomes an enemy for you. So those things, obstacle and enemy, are they're both interrelated, and they are necessary, or they are something not to be abandoned, because they are not something to be given up, because the enemies and the obstacles they create actually brings us closer to the reality, the Dharma Dhatu. The Dharma Dhatu means the ultimate reality, and the Dharma Dhatu of how things are, that everything is impermanent. Nothing is permanent, and nothing is yours ultimately. Everything that you think it is yours. So I think this is my cup, but this cup can break anytime, and this cup can be taken away by anybody. And the moment it is taken away by force, taken away by somebody else, even though we will say legitimately, this is my cup, you will say that. You can go to a court and argue and do all sort of things. But as long as that cup is with that person, it is his cup and not yours. When we talk about legal matters, we can say, oh, this is my cup, that person stole it from me, and so on and so forth. It's a very long story. But the moment somebody robs it from you, takes it away from you, that cup becomes that person's. If the moment Michael steals the cup from you, that becomes Michael's cup and not yours. But you can still dispute it in the court. That's another matter. So like that. And this cup can break at any moment, and I can die at any moment. So everything's impermanent, and everything is impermanent. First thing. Second thing, nothing that you think you hold so dear to yourself, like, oh, this is my cup, my beautiful cup, I love it so much. You cannot hold into it that much, because you never know when this cup will be taken away from you, or when you will be parted away from that cup. Maybe I love this cup so much, but then I have to go for some important work in another country, and then just like we are having right now, the pandemic. So I'm not able to come back to my home, and I miss this cup, and it's no longer mine. It's legally, of course, it's mine. Legally, it's mine, but still, I'm not holding it anymore. It's not with me anymore. I can no longer hold it as mine. So what? So because this is the obstacles and the enemies are a very good reminder for that, and that's why we should not abandon it, give it up. Then number 8. So number 8 is that when something comes to you unexpectedly. So the text reads, it is a boon to achieve spontaneity. So this is something that if you don't feel like you have worked for it, and then it comes to you out of nowhere. So if something happens to you, something good, right? Something good happens to you out of nowhere, and then then if it's something good happens to you out of like seemingly out of nowhere, then you should not be surprised and push it out. Because this is actually what we call ngurup, or the boon, which is when you work hard in a spiritual sense, then you get rewarded. So and also in the ordinary law of causality, cause and conditions, when you do good things come to you. So whatever good things come to you in this life, in your life, you feel like, okay, I haven't worked hard for this, I haven't done anything for this, but why some all of a sudden, everything seems to be having good things happening to me, things like that. So, well, maybe, some people, when things like that happen, some people are very pessimistic, and when things like good things start to happen, they get scared, like, oh, something, it must be something wrong. When some people, when people are being nice to you, you feel like, oh, that person must have some ulterior motive. Maybe they have an agenda. That's why they're being nice to me. I don't think they're really nice. So you shouldn't think like that. Because if something happens out of nowhere, nothing happens out of nowhere, nothing happens out of the blue, because everything has a cause and condition. But if it feels like if it's happening out of nowhere, then it's actually not happening out of nowhere, but it's actually happening due to it's happening because of the due causes and conditions. And those causes and conditions are like the spiritual practices that you have done, and so on and so forth. For example, if you are very sick, right? If you're very sick, so the direct answer from a Buddhist Dharma practice would be, if you are sick, then it is nobody's fault. It is your fault, because your sickness is caused by your negative karma in the past. And if you are sick, and then if you have money, or if you find a sponsor to take you to hospital, then you should take that opportunity as well. It is your fault to become sick. And it is also your good fortune in the sense because you worked hard for that in your previous life, so that you found a good doctor, a good sponsor, a good hospital, and so on and so forth. And you have the money to go to the hospital. If you are sick and you have no money, and you have no doctor, and you have no hospital, that is also your fault and nobody else. So if good things happen, it's your doing. If bad things happen, it's also your fault. So you have to take both the responsibility as well as the uh, as well as the praise and acknowledgement for everything. So if something good things happen, even if it seems like out of nowhere, nothing comes out of nowhere, and this is through your own good Dharma practices and good karma. So therefore, you should acknowledge it and not give that up too. So is whatever method and wisdom you see, whatever path and method you see are always to support and proceed on the path of wisdom. So they must not be abandoned. So what this is basically saying is whatever opportunity you see in your life to do Dharma practice, uh, whatever opportunity, whatever things you see that in your life that is in accordance, that is in cohesion with the Buddha Dharma, then this should be taken as path towards developing wisdom. So the ultimate goal is to develop wisdom. The wisdom will actually make us see the real, the ultimate truth. And in order to do that, in order to develop the wisdom, we need a lot of merit. We need to accumulate merit and wisdom. So a lot of merit is needed. So merit can help the wisdom uh, to develop. For example, merit is like the sharp edges of a sword. A sword. So sharp edges of a sword. The sharp edges cannot come by itself. In order to have a very sharp knife, you need a knife first. In order to get a knife, you need a metal rod first, and then you sharpen. You burn it, you melt it, and you sharpen it, and then at the end of the day, you get a sharp-edged knife or a sword. So just like that, the sharp edges of the sword is the wisdom. If you say, I want to get wisdom without the method, without compassion, without any other things, this is not possible. It's like saying, I want a sharp sword without a sword. So, in order to develop the sharp sword, the sharp edges of the sword, you need a lot of things. And so all the things that you see when you are dealing with your life, if you see some beggar, give them some money. It doesn't have to be big, just give them some money. Or if you don't have any pocket money with you, just say some nice thing or just give a smile. If you don't have time to do that, just give him a good thought. Oh, that poor beggar, may he have a good day today. And if you see somebody in the park crying, some lonely person, lonely girl, or lonely boy crying because of something happened, then give them a good thought, or just cheer them up, or do something nice. So this is just one example, but there are many opportunities, many windows for Dharma practice in our day-to-day life, and all this should be taken as the stepping stone, like the stair towards development of wisdom. And so therefore, any opportunities you see in your life, don't push it away. Take that as a path toward development of wisdom. So the number 10 is quite easy to explain. Maybe not easy to do, but easy to explain. So whatever Dharma practices, whatever daily routines, daily spiritual routines you could do, you are capable of doing, then you should never miss it. You should do it. Like if you can recite one mantra, one Om Mani Padme Hum each day, then you should do it. If you can do one prostration each day, then you should do it. If you cannot do it, then it's okay. What you are capable of doing, then you should not leave it aside. So whatever Dharma practices you are capable of doing, you should do it. And then the second, so the number 10 has two parts. The first part is do whatever you are capable of doing. That is in the physical form. And the second part is even if you couldn't do anything, if you can't do anything, if you are a sick person or maybe very old and in the bed and couldn't do any of the physical activities like reciting a mantra or do prostration, anything, you can still, lying in bed, you can still think good thoughts for others. That this is the second part. Even the first thing is doing all physical activities that you are capable of doing, and the second part is even if you couldn't do anything physically, you can still harness good thoughts for others. Okay, so this concludes today's teaching. And so far we have gone through, I think, three sets of teachings. And of course, there are a number of things, so out of all the things that I've taught up until today, I presume that you are taking notes, or the things that make sense to you, whatever things that make sense to you, keep note of that, whether it's a mental note or a physical note. Just take note of those things and use them in your your day-to-day life. And those things you don't understand, or those things that you doesn't seems to make sense to you at the moment, don't worry about that. So as I said earlier, we have 10,000 problems, and just like that, there are 280 different problems and 280 different solutions in this book. So we may not be able to we will not be able to remember all of them at one time, but things that make sense to you, whatever makes sense to you, keep note of that and use them. Compassion. Okay, this is very interesting. I can do compassion, right? Then do compassion. Oh, I cannot do compassion for all sentient beings. That is too hard for me. Okay, that's okay. If you have compassion for all sentient beings, that is called unconditional compassion, unconditional love. If you can still have compassion towards people you love, like your kids, your parents, and like that. And gradually you can widen it up, and so on and so forth. So whatever Dharma practices that you can do from this particular book, from the subjects that we have covered, whenever you have the opportunity to do whatever we have covered up until now, just do it. Yeah. Okay. So anything to say? I have like three minutes.
Ờ, mọi người có muốn hỏi hay nói gì không ạ? Thầy có dành cho chúng ta 3 phút ạ?
Hi, Rinpoche.
Hello. Hi.
Yes, hi. I have one question
Yeah,
for
go on,
you.
please.
Okay. For those who got infected by coronavirus
Uh-huh.
and passed away,
Mm-hmm.
does it relate to their karma?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's your question?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Yes. So this kind of thing like coronavirus, earthquake, and war. Can you hear me, right? Okay.
Yes, yes, I can
Yeah.
hear.
Okay. So this kind of thing, pandemics, coronavirus, sorry, yeah, like diseases like coronavirus, earthquake, tsunamis, then war, all these things, what we call collective karma. So at one particular time, we could not pinpoint exactly this or that. Or at one particular time, we were all involved in doing a very heinous negative uh, negative action, committing a negative action together as a collective. Uh, and because of that, we suffered together. So, strictly from a Dharma point of view, strictly from the Dharma point of view, those who suffer from coronavirus and those who die from coronavirus, of course, it's their own fault or it's their own karma. And this is what we call a collective karma. So people who are in this very world, coronavirus is spreading all over the world. And then within few kilometers or within a few meters, there are people who are getting sick and who are not getting sick. And there are people who are not getting sick, but still affected by the sick. And there are people who are, indirectly everyone is affected, right? But directly, some people are not affected. So those things are because of their own good karma, because they are not involved in those heinous uh, negative actions collectively. So like earthquake, war, diseases like this, they are all the result of collective karma. So we are all part of this one time back. And because of that, we are all suffering together. So together we make the mistake, and together we have to suffer, and together we correct the mistake as well. So we have to do it all together. And then now, because we are all suffering through COVID-19, we have to walk together, all of us. And if one person walks and other person just neglect this, it will not help. So the solution is also to walk together again. Okay, so I received a message saying there are two questions. So yeah, I will allow two questions.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
You're most welcome. If no question, then I will stop.
May I ask a question, Rinpoche? Can you
Please
hear
go
me?
on. Yes.
So when you pray for all humankind,
Uh-huh.
but your mind come up with people that are racist or
Okay.
people that are not worth of your praying, how do you avoid that?
Right. Okay. So there was actually the thing is the people who seems to be not worthy of your prayers are actually the worthiest person of your prayer, because people who are racist, people who are judgmental, people who are discriminative, they are also living in a very hellish realm themselves. They are not doing this because they are they are not being racist and judgmental because they are actually better than other people. They think they're better than other people. They still think they're much more they're superior than other kind. And this the reality is they are not superior than other people. They are all just same. Their blood is red just like other people. And when somebody hits them, they get hurt just like other people. If somebody says do bad things to their family, they will get hurt just like other people. So there is no difference in that. But they somehow they feel like, oh, we are stronger. We are stronger. We are more superior than other people. And they live in this disillusion. That they live in this ignorance. And by living in and they will live in this ignorance for a very long time until their until their made up reality is shattered, the bubble that they're living in. So most people who are racist, people who are discriminative, they're living in a bubble. They create a bubble for themselves and they kind of feel superior to others, which they are really not. And when that bubble is popped, then they fall down and then they suffer for a very long time. That happens to a lot of people who, back in the day, people who are like war criminals, people who kill a lot of people, people who torture and kill a lot of people during war and things like that. When they become very old, then they can reflect on what they did in the past. They regret and they repent, and then there is nothing else they can do. So they live in a they are very poor in the sense they are very weak. They are not as strong as they think they are. They are not as superior as they think they are. And in that sense, they are living in the misery of their own ignorance. And for that matter, they are the subject of our pity. They are the subject of our compassion. And we can pray for them to have a better heart. And we can pray that the wisdom be dawned upon them. We can pray for the wisdom to be dawned upon them. We can pray for compassion to rise within them. So these are the prayers that we can do. So people, when they were, there was a saying, will you kill there was this very question back in the day. I mean, a few years ago, like, will you kill a baby Hitler? Hitler is, he could kill millions of people. Sometimes he's seen as the very epitome of evil. But then, will you kill a baby Hitler if you know what he is going to do? Will you kill Hitler, the baby Hitler? So the same goes for a lot of other brutal dictators like him. You will probably not, because if you know what the baby is going to do, if you know the baby Hitler is, if you know the baby Hitler is going to do what he's going to do in the future, then you will probably teach the baby Hitler good things, compassion, and so on and so forth, so that he does not tread into that path. So similarly, those people who are going wayward, those who are on the wrong path, we pray for them to have to come into the right path, for the wisdom to dawn and compassion to rise within them. That's the kind of prayer we do for them, because we are, that is what we do. That is the kind of prayer we do for them.
But how do you get to that wisdom to do that?
Because
your mental is not there yet. So how do we get? Yeah.
Okay. So let's go on there like this. So those people who are doing this kind of thing. So you do you agree that they are misinformed?
Yes.
So they are misinformed, and because of their misinformation, because they have fed misinformation for so long, it's like they are brainwashed into thinking that they are more superior than others, right?
Correct.
So the solution here is there are two solutions. One is the physical solution, like external solution, and then another is the internal solution. Internally, spiritually, you pray that the person has wisdom, gets wisdom, and externally, you try to inform that person give the right information to that person. So if you are having a sort of a debate, or you are discussing that matters of race with that person, you can give them facts, and you can give them information, and so on and so forth. You can deal with them. You can deal with them heads on and try to give the right information to that person, educate that person. That is the most appropriate thing to do. Educate that person. If you feel like this is going to be too draining for you, you can't do that. Okay, I provide him one information, he gives me another information, because there's plenty of materials on the internet nowadays, right? So you say one thing, the other person says that thing. So you can go on with the blame game. So you can always see whether the person is being sincere or cynical. If the person is being cynical, then there is nothing you can do at the moment. So you can no longer educate that person because the person is already cynical. So in that sense, what you can do is you can pray for that person. If the person is sincere, then you can try to educate that person, try to have a dialogue with that person. If the person is not sincere, then the only solution is prayer. So that's why His Holiness always says, prayer is not the only solution. Prayer, prayer, prayer. Prayer is good, but more than prayer, we need action. And so these are the action we are talking about: educating people, informing people. And like the discussion that we are having, Dharma discussion, Dharma talk, these are educating people. So this book is about educating people. So we educate them. So this is the only thing we can do. We cannot force them. We cannot use the same method that they are doing. This will be foolhardy. If you say you are being stupid and call them stupid, then this is not having any benefit. So you inform them, educate them.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah. Second question. Okay.
Yes.
So any other questions? Before you said there are two. Okay. If yeah, go on.
Dạ, em chỉ dịch tóm tắt cái phần này thôi ạ.
Okay.
It's okay, một trường hợp.
Sorry. So there's one more question from the audience. What is the fastest or easiest way we can accumulate merits in our busy life? Okay. So this is like saying, what is the best product that we can buy for the cheapest rate? Anyway, so when you look at so most of the time, because we are more accustomed to worldly things, materialistic things, we always look at spiritual object or spiritual objective with a material mindset or material mental scope. And anyway, so I'm not denigrating this question. Of course, it's a very valid question that rises from the general public, general audience, in many cases. So I will try to okay. So this is the thing. So I can sense from the questioner's point of view that the questioner, the people who is asking the question, the audience, the person who is asking the question actually wants one particular practice that can answer all the that is the best sort of practice which can accumulate a huge number of merit. So it's not like there's one particular practice that can do huge number of huge number of merits. But usually we consider the offering of the mandala as a way of accumulating merit. Mandala offering is seen as a way of accumulating merit in a huge portion, and it's a good practice for accumulating merit, and also for purifying negativities. But as I said earlier, all those forms, these are all forms of Dharma, okay? Mandala offering, prostration, reciting the book, they're all forms, shape. They are the vessel. They are the container. They are the sword, the knife. What we need to get to is the sharpness, the sharp edges of the sword. We have to get the sharp edges of the sword. But as I said earlier, we cannot get the sharp edges of the sword unless we have a strong knife. And in that sense, the hard material of sword to cut down or to accumulate huge number of merit is usually regarded the mandala offering. So when you are doing the mandala offering, just like you are making a sword, you are actually trying to make a hard and sharp sword. So the process, just like that, when you are doing the mandala offering, the mandala itself is not mandala. Doing the mandala offering, when you make the mandala offering, you put thousands or millions of grains on that plate. So right, yeah, on that plate you pour that. So when you pour those millions of grains of sand, our mind usually relates to whatever we see, whatever we hear, and whatever we sense, we touch, because we are sensual animal. We are living beings. We are in the desire realm. What we hear, what we see is more important than what we cannot see and what we cannot hear. So when we see grains of millions of sand or the rice or grain pouring, immediately we have this, we associate that with accumulation, accumulation. And then we can relate that to accumulation of merit. And that's why we think of, we think of offering this and this and that. All things we offer the best of. So in the mandala offering, this is a very, it is a cultural thing. You offer the cow, you offer it is actually culturally relevant to Indian culture and Tibetan culture. So it may not maybe necessarily related to people from other cultures. So the cow and so if you remember the mandala, the lines from the mandala, and so in all in all, you're offering the best there is to offer. This is what you have to think. So when you offer the best there is to offer, you are offering, even though you cannot offer materially, you still offer them from your heart, with your intention. You offer them, and when you do that, you also relate your action of offering the grains with the actual offering from your mind. And when you do that, you accumulate huge number of merit. And so that's why we have to do the mandala offering as part of the preliminary practices in order to accumulate a huge number of merit. That is one thing. And if, as you said, that is the formal way of accumulating merit. But as I said earlier, and as the question arises, if you are too busy to do any of those things, then anything you do that is in anything you do that is coherent with the Dharma. So what does the Dharma say? Buddha said, Dharma is the teaching of the Buddha. So the Dharma says, do not harm others and do good to others. So when you do those two things, when you refrain from harming others, right? Not just doing any harm to others is not a good thing. Like if you are sleeping, you are not harming anyone. So, that still doesn't count as merit. If somebody is irritating you and somebody is making you feel very angry, and instead of responding with anger, you restrain that anger, then this is called not harming. That, and then when you can help somebody, maybe with a smile, maybe with money, maybe with just a nice word or whatever, maybe an answer to a question. Somebody asks a question, you ignore that question, that person is offended. So you can help people by so many things. So whenever you do those things, helping others and not harming others, those two things, very basic. Help others and not harm others, very basic two things. Okay, when you do those two things, do it sincerely, without any ulterior motive, without any agenda. Oh, I'm going to give money to this person, so I'm going to accumulate merit and I'm going to be happier. No, don't do it with that motive. Even though it's a good motive, like, I'm going to be happy. It's nothing wrong with being happy, right? But if you do with that motive, if the motive is not sincere, if the motive is self-centered, then this does not become pure. This doesn't constitute as a proper dharma. It is nothing wrong with being selfish, or like thinking of for yourself, being self-centered. There's nothing wrong with that in general. Okay, if you take care of yourself, your health, you are important. There is nothing wrong with that. But from a strict dharma perspective, if you take care of yourself too much, then you will fail, because you cannot take care of yourself all the time. And when you fail to take care of yourself, and when your intention, your goal, and your result do not match, then you are in deep trouble. So that's why we want to avoid that. So one important thing, the word dharma, like dharma practice. So dharma has a dozen of different meaning, different connotations. It's an ambiguous word. But the root meaning of the word dharma means to hold, to hold. So the thing is, the Dharma practice is all about withholding yourself from doing something negative. You remember the 10 negative things and the 10 positive things? 10 good things, 10 virtuous deeds and the 10 non-virtuous deeds, right? So the interesting thing is 10 virtuous things, 10 non-virtuous things, they all have a name. Killing, lying, things like that. And when it comes to the 10 virtuous deeds, the good thing, there is no name for that. It is all the good things are actually negation of the bad thing, like not killing, not lying, not stealing, not no, like that. The name was given originally to the negative thing, killing, lying, stealing, gossiping, like that. That is the negative deed. And when it comes to the positive deed, there is no name. It is just the negation. It is just the negation of the negative action. So you see, Dharma is all about not doing. People think Dharma is about doing something. It is actually about not doing something. It is about not doing or not engaging in the negative activities. Therefore, whenever in your day-to-day life, when there is a chance for you to become angry, don't be angry. When there is a chance for you to lie to someone, don't lie. If there is a chance for you to fool somebody and get benefit from that, don't do it. And that is Dharma. And when you do that properly with sincere motivation, then this is the biggest and the fastest and the best way to accumulate merit. So the dedication prayer is this: from the merit that we have gained today for 2 hours, may those people who have not been able to generate bodhicitta be able to do so, be able to generate bodhicitta. And those, so bodhicitta, big heart, compassion, become more compassionate. People who have not been able to be compassionate, people who have not been able to open their heart, be able to open their heart and become more compassionate and generate bodhicitta. And those people who have already generated bodhicitta, may their bodhicitta become stronger, fortified, and then be able to act on behalf of other sentient beings. So this is the dedication prayer we do.
Chanjo semjo rembo je maye banam gejo jinke ba nyamba meba yang kone kondo pewa sho pende june demba tashin je denzen gebo tamje bogams rejen guna degi june ne sanje demba dado gejo ji. Okay, mix them up. Me menze re de jen jen
Mendiante Rambo Jambe Ganje Gebe Zogyang Shanka
One more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank
Thank you,
you,
everyone.
dear.
Thank you so much. Come on.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Rinpoche.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Rinpoche.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.